Cheng Li Wen, the chairwoman of Taiwan's Kuomintang, led a delegation all the way to the United States. Before she left, she had already announced that she was scheduled to meet with officials from the US National Security Council on June 10th. But what happened? Before she even landed, the US side sent a notice that the meeting was canceled. Just like that, the chairwoman of Taiwan's largest opposition party rushed to the US with high hopes, only to be shut out before she could even get close. Cheng Li Wen made the best of it and went to Boston to meet with overseas compatriots. Chairwoman Cheng, I really feel for you. I don't actually have anything against the KMT, but I do have something against the bad apples within it. The US stood up Cheng Li Wen, and it was definitely no accident or diplomatic oversight. The reason the US didn't want to see her is related to another major event. On the very same day that Cheng Li Wen was snubbed in the US, a major US bill was moving forward in the US Congress. Now, there's a key word in this bill, the axis of aggressors. The CCP has been officially listed as a member of the axis of aggressors, standing side by side with Russia, Iran, and North Korea. Taiwan's security has been upgraded to the security of the first island chain. Today, we're going to talk about this bill that's giving Xi Jinping sleepless nights. But first, let's talk about what happened to Cheng Li Wen in the US. Let's first talk about the background of Cheng Li Wen's trip to the US. Before she left, Cheng Li Wen had already prepared herself for the humiliation. She said publicly that even if the US downgraded her reception, and even if she had to lower her own status, she was still going to the US. She also said she wanted to try to talk to Trump in person to seek his support for the KMT's cross-strait peace policy. Cheng Li Wen certainly has a thick skin. Even though she sensed she wasn't welcome, she still went ahead and faced the rejection. It seems that in politics, you really do need to be thick-skinned. It's because she's under so much pressure back home. The pro-US faction within the KMT is getting restless. Key figures like Taichung Mayor Liu Shoyan are very unhappy with her pro-China stance. US and Japanese diplomats in Taiwan are also keeping up the pressure, hoping the KMT will support a new round of US arms purchases. In other words, Cheng Li Wen's trip to the US was essentially a political publicity stunt. She needed to show that she'd been to the US to silence the voices within her party that oppose her. However, she didn't expect that instead of a dignified reception, the US would give her a resounding slap in the face. The US National Security Council canceled the meeting with her. This wasn't just a scheduling conflict, it was political language. The US used its actions to tell the world, we don't want to see you. So, what exactly did Cheng Li Wen say in the US that made them snub her so directly? We'll get to that in a moment. But first, I want to respond to a viewer. We often recommend Red Sea cucumber and black gold on the show. One viewer said that after their family members started taking Red Sea cucumber, their skin and immunity both improved. And after taking this black ginseng extract himself, his complexion and energy levels improved. He wanted to know if these two can be taken together. So we specifically consulted professionals. Based on the product formulas and existing user feedback, there are no known ingredient conflicts between the black ginseng extract and the Red Sea cucumber gel. Generally, they can be used together, and taking them at the same time won't cancel out their effects. However, the characteristics of these two products are slightly different. For instance, this black ginseng extract is more geared toward gentle daily conditioning, nourishment, and nutritional supplementation. It's very helpful for those who often stay up late, or for the health management of type 2 diabetes. Now, the Red Sea cucumber gel is more focused on nutritional repair and maintaining your physical state. Many people have felt their knees become more flexible and their skin improve after taking it for a while. If you're taking both, many users choose to take them at different times of the day. For example, taking the Red Sea cucumber gel in the morning. Then, in the evening or after a meal, take the black ginseng extract. This way, the body's absorption and the overall experience will be more comfortable. Of course, everyone's constitution, dietary habits, and physical condition are different. If you have a long-term chronic illness, are taking prescription medication, or are sensitive to certain ingredients, I'd still suggest you consult your professional doctor first. It'll be safer before starting long-term combined use. Also, I have some good news to share. Our Red Sea cucumber and black ginseng extract currently have the highest repurchase rates. In May, the average repurchase rate for Red Sea cucumber was 65%, and for black ginseng extract, it was 43.68%. The number of orders for both is rising. Old customers are repurchasing, and new customers are growing. This shows our products are well recognized. I'll post a link in the comment section. If you're interested, you can use my discount code WEIU to purchase and enjoy a 15% discount. Now, Cheng Li Wen is a politician. She knows that when she speaks, she must distinguish between internal and external audiences, so her statements vary depending on the occasion. She told United States officials and scholars that the United States is a benefactor and China is a relative. She said Taiwan's value lies in building a bridge of communication between China and the United States, and that Taiwan is unwilling to become a pawn in the competition between major powers. While promoting the China-United States bridge theory, everywhere she goes, she's actually promoting Xi Jinping thought for a new era. In discussions at Harvard University and Washington, D.C. think tanks, she repeatedly questioned the necessity of arms purchases, emphasizing that only the ability to fight can lead to peace. But at the same time, she's trying every possible way to delay the arms procurement process. These words aren't even the most extreme. In Boston, Cheng Li Wen visited the Chinese Consolidated Benevolent Association of New England. Facing the overseas compatriots who welcomed her, she spoke her mind. She said that a powerful alliance between the two sides of the strait could create unimaginable achievements. A powerful alliance between the two sides? How did those words make you feel? I know that the post-event comment from American media figures was that Cheng Li Wen came to the U.S. representing China. A powerful cross-strait alliance? Isn't that just KMT-CPC cooperation? A powerful cross-strait alliance? What does that really mean? Simply put, it's KMT-CPC cooperation. Historically, this has happened twice. The first time was from 1924 to 1927. After several failed revolutions, Sun Yat-sen, with Soviet mediation, had both parties work together through the admission of communists policy. The goal was to defeat warlords, finish the Northern Expedition, and unify China. The Communist Party used this to infiltrate the Kuomintang's grassroots and strengthen its organization. In 1927, Chiang Kai-shek launched the April 12th Purge, splitting the KMT and CPC, but by then, the Communist Party had already gained a strong foothold. In that first alliance, the Kuomintang paid a price of blood and gore. The second KMT-CPC cooperation occurred from 1937 to 1945. Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China, and the nation's survival was at stake. After the Xi'an incident, Chiang Kai-shek was forced to accept cooperation with the Communists to resist Japan. The two parties nominally fought the foreign enemy together. The Communist armies accepted designations from the national government, known as the 8th Route Army and the New 4th Army. And the result? The Kuomintang army fought bloody battles on the front lines and was exhausted, while the Communists used bases behind enemy lines to quietly expand their territory and grow their forces. After the victory in the War of Resistance, Japan surrendered, and the whole country celebrated. But before people could even sober up from the joy of victory, the Civil War broke out. In 1949, the Kuomintang lost the entire mainland and retreated to Taiwan. In the second KMT-CP cooperation, the Kuomintang lost its hold on the country. In both KMT-CP cooperations, the Communist Party benefited and the Kuomintang lost. Now, Cheng Li Wen wants a strong cross-strait alliance. I just want to ask, in those two times, did the Kuomintang ever win? Do you think they could win a third time? Having discussed the powerful alliance, let's talk about another of Cheng Li Wen's core propositions. Taiwan should be a bridge between China and the U.S. This proposition sounds very grand, as if Taiwan were a wise mediator, navigating between two major powers to maintain regional peace. But this logic has a fundamental, erroneous premise. For the bridge theory to hold, one condition is required, that the problems between China and the U.S. are misunderstandings caused by a lack of communication. As long as someone acts as a liaison, both sides can resolve their conflicts and shake hands. But the fact is, there was once a honeymoon period between the U.S. and China, and back then, what Taiwan feared most was being sold out by the U.S. The U.S. moving toward confrontation with the CCP isn't because of a lack of understanding or a misunderstanding. It's because they've seen through the CCP's harm to the world and decided to confront it. Those are two completely different things. U.S. intelligence agencies, think tanks, and academia regarding the CCP's strategic intentions. Military expansion, technology theft, and infiltration operations have all been studied very clearly and thoroughly. The U.S. decision for strategic confrontation is a rational choice based on full understanding, not a misjudgment from a lack of it. In this situation, if you go and say you want to be a bridge, how will Americans see it? There's only one way. You're unwilling to take a side. And in an ongoing strategic confrontation, not taking a side is the same as being on the other side. Regarding Taiwan's role between the US and China, Cheng Li Wen has no say at all. Actually, I think the Taiwanese authorities are very clear on this. Taiwan's Foreign Minister Lin Chia-lung said in an interview with the Japan Times this March that the first island chain should have full security coverage, and Taiwan is currently a gap in it, so he hopes Taiwan will be included in the first island chain security system. Taiwan's Vice President Shelby Kim declared at the U.S. Capitol and Silicon Valley forums that Taiwan-U.S. relations have shifted from a traditional buyer-seller relationship to a true defense industry partnership. In the global innovation ecosystem, Taiwan and the U.S. are not competitors, but indispensable complementary partners. Taiwan's representative to the U.S., Alexander Yui, said that Taiwan-U.S. relations are currently at one of their best moments, with a rock-solid partnership established. He emphasized that the CCP regime is the biggest risk factor for peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait and the Pacific region. Taiwan's foreign minister, vice president, and U.S. representative are all doing the same thing, which is positioning Taiwan very clearly on the side of the United States to jointly confront the CCP. Only Cheng Li Wen went to tell the Americans that we can be a bridge and that we can join forces with China. Seeing this, how could the Americans possibly meet with her? Not only did they not meet, but on that very day, the U.S. Congress was moving forward with a major piece of legislation. On June 10th, the same day Cheng Li Wen was stood up, the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee passed the fiscal year 2027 National Defense Authorization Act by a vote of 18-9, totaling $1.15 trillion. This major bill sends two very important signals. Signal 1, in the bill, the U.S. officially listed the CCP as a member of the Axis of Aggressors. Now, many people seeing this news might think, isn't it just a change of words? What's the big deal? Actually, it's a huge deal. This change in terminology represents a fundamental shift in U.S. strategic characterization. Let's look back at how the U.S. characterization of the CCP has evolved over the past few decades, from the earliest days as an exchange partner to a strategic competitor, and then to the primary geopolitical challenge. Each escalation means that U.S. vigilance toward the CCP has deepened by another level. But that line was never crossed. We were competing, but we weren't enemies. But now, as you can see, that line has been crossed. The phrase Axis of Aggressors, the last time it appeared in history was during World War II. Back then, the Axis powers were Germany, Italy, and Japan. They were the ones who started that war that cost tens of millions of human lives. Now, the United States Congress has grouped the CCP, Russia, Iran, and North Korea together within the same framework. The text of the bill explicitly states that facing an axis of aggressors led by China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea, the United States is currently in the most perilous threat environment since World War II. Please pay attention to every word in that sentence. The most perilous threat environment since World War II. This isn't just a moment of anger from some hawkish politician. This is a bipartisan consensus, passed 18-9, and written as an official statement into a defense bill totaling $1.15 trillion. This means that the United States has, at the institutional, legal, and budgetary levels, defined the CCP as an enemy that requires full-scale confrontation rather than a competitor that needs to be managed. To sum it up in one sentence, the United States' attitude toward the CCP is no longer about how to compete with you, but how to defeat you. Against this backdrop, Cheng Li Wen went to the United States saying she wanted to be a bridge and to join forces. That's not being naive. I'd say it's just plain stupid. The second signal, I believe, is even more of a bombshell than the first because it directly relates to Taiwan's future position in the United States strategic landscape and how Taiwanese people should view their own situation. The second major signal is that the United States has upgraded the Taiwan Security Cooperation Initiative to the First Island Chain Security Cooperation Initiative. Let's first talk about what the First Island Chain is. The First Island Chain is a chain of islands stretching from Japan, the Ryukyu Islands, Taiwan, and the Philippines, all the way to Borneo. This line is a strategic defense line built by the United States in the Western Pacific after World War II, and it's also the most important barrier preventing the CCP Navy from breaking out of the Western Pacific and onto the global stage. Taiwan happens to be right in the center of this chain. It's the most critical link. Without Taiwan, there's a fatal gap in this defense line. Taiwan's foreign minister, Lin Chialung, also said that Taiwan is currently a gap in the First Island Chain and hopes it will be filled. In the past, the United States policy toward Taiwan was called the Taiwan Security Cooperation Initiative. The emphasis was on the word Taiwan, and the focus was on defending the island of Taiwan. But now, this initiative has been renamed the First Island Chain Security Cooperation Initiative. Even the Philippines has been included in the scope of assistance, and the authorization period has been extended to 2032. This name change might seem like just a few words, but the strategic meaning behind it is a fundamental shift. It means the United States strategic thinking has upgraded from how to hold on to Taiwan as a single point to how to defend the entire First Island Chain. Taiwan is no longer just a protected object, but has become a core node in a multilateral defense system. Taiwan, the Philippines, and Japan, three key locations, are being integrated into the same institutionalized defense framework. Through 2032, this isn't a temporary fix, it's a long-term strategic layout, and the overall strengthening of this defense line began much earlier. This April, the US and Japan shifted from a spear and shield alliance to a double spear alliance. Both nations will take the initiative, not just play defense. The Philippines has also formed a lattice alliance with multiple countries, further expanding defense depth. And the most shocking detail is that for the first time in 81 years since World War II, Japanese combat troops have once again set foot on Philippine soil. The last time the Japanese military was in the Philippines was 1945, in the final smoke of World War II. 81 years later, they're back. But this time, not as invaders, but as allies. Together, they face a new threat. What does this image show? It shows that every member of the First Island Chain, Japan, the Philippines, Taiwan, has felt the real presence of the CCP threat. They're all actively preparing for war, moving in the same direction. The Taiwan-US Defense Industry Forum just took place. Former U.S. Army Pacific Commander Charles Flynn led a 42-person delegation, the largest in history, to Taiwan to discuss cooperation with 200 Taiwanese defense industry players. The head of the US Taiwan Business Council said U.S. industry interest in cooperating with Taiwan has reached unprecedented heights. So what we see is the entire First Island Chain moving in the same direction. This is the strategic layout of the U.S. and its allies, and Cheng Li Wen is clearly out of step with his strategy. That's the fundamental reason she was stood up by the U.S. It's not just a difference in stance. At this critical historical moment, she chose to be the breach in this defense line. After saying all that, I want to ask you a question. What role does the U.S. actually want Taiwan to play? The answer is very clear. The U.S. wants Taiwan to be the solidest brick in the First Island Chain defense. Not a bridge, not a buffer zone, and certainly not an envoy of goodwill to the CCP. Now, this logic is well-founded. In the legislation, the U.S. doesn't just list Taiwan as a protected object, it institutionally embeds military cooperation with Taiwan into the U.S. military's overall operational framework. Both sides will co-develop drones and integrate the First Island Chain's combat system. Deeply cooperating in 6 key technical areas: drones, chips, directed energy weapons, artificial intelligence, missiles, and intelligence surveillance and reconnaissance. This means that the relationship between Taiwan and the US has upgraded from the US protecting Taiwan to joint war preparations. Under this strategic framework, the US has only one requirement for Taiwan, and that is to stand on the same side as us, to jointly resist the CCP's expansion and threats. Only then will the US have a reason to prepare for war for Taiwan, sell arms, invest resources, and even bleed for Taiwan. Conversely, if Taiwan's main political forces choose to be a bridge, choose to join forces with the strong, and choose to lean towards the CCP, why should the US protect you? The US is not a charity. Every cent of its military investment requires a strategic return. If Taiwan's strategic reliability is in doubt, the US's willingness to protect will naturally be greatly diminished. Cheng Li Wen may not realize that her phrase, cross-strait joining of forces, didn't just make Americans frown, but shook the fundamental strategic trust of Taiwan as a reliable partner. Once this trust is damaged, the safety of everyone in Taiwan will pay the price. Americans have seen through it. Have the Taiwanese? That's all for today's show. I'm Wei Yu, and I'll see you next time.